Hey guys, Tommy here, and welcome to my live reactions for the third integrated flight test of the SpaceX Starship rocket. Booster 10 and Ship 28 are mostly fueled on the orbital launch pad down in Boca Chica, Texas. This is the live SpaceX view. I currently have the audio for it turned off, so I will unmute that whenever we get a bit closer to launch. But this is a huge day for SpaceX. This is a huge day for humanity, because this mission will prove our ability to develop these launch vehicles to eventually move on to living on the moon permanently, living on Mars long term, and eventually permanently. And the vehicle that will do that is Starship, and vehicles like it: Blue Origin's New Glenn, NASA's SLS Block 2, other launch vehicles that are coming along very well. We just got a call there for 5 minutes 30 seconds where they're starting to get ready to close out. 2 minutes and 50 seconds is when they're planning to close it out. I'm going to unmute the stream.
Now, after that happens, we'll go through a couple of different procedures with the ground. We'll do what's called pushbacks, clearing out the lines between our prop farm and the vehicles themselves before we get to launch. And then in the next few minutes, we'll get the final guidance system alignments, some final thrust vector control on the booster checks, and all that will be performed. And again, if we need to hold, we have a hold gate built in at T-minus 40 seconds where we can hang out.
They have
like
held
they
there.
will have about 15 minutes to hold at T-minus 40 if we need to.
They have held there.
If we hit that right now, it looks like the most likely reason would be winds. We're not tracking any technical issues to our T0 at 8:25, just about 4.5 minutes from now. So, I mean, everything's really looking good.
Good.
The booster's almost at full frosty, so we'll see that close out in just a couple of minutes. But we're getting really close to flight,
huge.
guys.
I can't wait for this.
The excitement is definitely growing here in Hawthorne, SpaceX headquarters. There is a large crowd gathering. You might hear them cheering occasionally. Now, Dan mentioned a good point about the holds. We have an opportunity to today hold for a few minutes. And this is a really cool thing about Starship, and we don't have this opportunity with Falcon or Falcon Heavy. Up until the T-minus 40-second point, aborts are just holds. So anything that would trigger an abort prior to T-minus 40 seconds becomes a hold. So that's a really cool feature to allow the team to wait for final checkouts or assess prop levels, engines, avionics, vehicle pressurization. It's really helpful to ensure a liftoff.
Yeah, and that's something that is very different from Falcon. I'm sure people have watched our launches, and then we get right down past prop load and have to scrub because of weather or scrub because of an issue on the vehicle. And we don't have the same constraints on our propellant and our system with Starship, which gives us more availability in the window. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes the winds dip just enough where you can launch the rocket safely. And otherwise, if you didn't have that ability to hold a few minutes, you might miss that window and then have to recycle to another day.
Yeah, exactly, which is kind of like today. Like we mentioned earlier, winds are the thing that we are watching, so good news there. So we are still continuing to progress. We're looking at liftoff in just under almost 2.5 minutes from now. Super exciting. Like we said before, there's nothing more exciting than watching a test flight for a developmental program, and that's where we're at today.
And like we talked about, we have some really ambitious goals for today's test. But really, the point of today's test is to try to get as much data as we can so we can inform the next iteration of the design of Starship, work those things into flight test number 4 and new objectives there that'll eventually get us to that glorious, rapid, reusable future that we so badly want.
Yeah, for flight 1, we wanted to clear the pad, and we did. For flight 2, we wanted to get through hot staging separation, and we did. So today, we want to get even further than that and collect as much data as we possibly can. So with all that being said, we're going to check back in with Dan to take us through the final 2 minutes of terminal count.
All right, we are under 2 minutes away. We have closed out the prop load on the booster and on the ship.
You love to see it.
And we're starting to hear some good news that it looks like winds are not going to hold us up, so there's a good chance we blow right through that 40-second hold. So we're about 1 minute and 20 seconds away. Just walking you through one last time, we're going to see the engines ignite about 4 seconds before we hit our T0. They're going to ignite in 3 different banks. You'll get 13 of the inners, 15 of the outers, and then the last 5 ignite just 2 minutes before T0. And then after that, the quick disconnect
60
will
seconds.
Retract. The engines will start to throttle up, and then we'll see liftoff about.
So at this point, if this was a Falcon launch, we'd be in startup sequence at this point. We're under a minute.
Don't be shocked if we hold at 40 seconds before, but it sounds like the winds are cooperating today. And we'd be able to move right past that, not tracking any other technical issues that could hold us.
Past our
yes!
QD vent gate.
We're proceeding past. We're going for it.
Through the QD vent gate, past that 40-second hold.
Go for launch.
30 seconds. We're go for launch.
Flight Director Ty Huntington telling the team we
All
are
right.
go for launch. So 20 seconds
20
to
seconds.
Go.
Godspeed Booster 10. Godspeed Ship 28. Let's light this candle. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Deluge. 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. And we have liftoff. Woohoo! 33 on the booster, and we have cleared the tower. Go on! You beautiful thing! We are cleared the tower, and we are hauling ass! Onboard view.
30 seconds into flight.
30
we
seconds.
are feeling the rumble. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines ignited on the super heavy booster.
Booster and ship, avionics, power, and telemetry nominal.
Good to hear. Power and telemetry are good.
Continuing to get good call-outs. Our trajectory looking nominal.
Max
Systems
Q.
looking nominal. Just amazing to see all
60 seconds
33
into
lit up
flight.
once again.
Oh, I'm
This
loving
point,
these
we've already
onboard
passed
views.
through Max Q, that maximum dynamic pressure. And passing supersonic, so we're now moving faster than the speed of sound.
And we're through the sound barrier.
Getting those onboard views from the ship cameras.
Still got 33 engines firing nominally.
Now the next major milestone is going to be a hot staging maneuver. Again, we're going to be doing that in just about 90 seconds. To do that, we're going to shut down all but the 3 center Raptor engines.
Hey, the heat shield on 28's looking good.
That'll be our MECO, our most engines cut off.
I'm seeing a few
and
little
the clamps
bits that look
holding
like
the 2
maybe
stages together are going to
there's
release.
a few tiles
Starship
missing, but I'm
second
not
stage
seeing
will
a
ignite
huge
its engines,
chunk, so
the
that bodes
RVACs
well for
first,
re-entry.
The sea levels right after that. The sea level engines will be
I love that
displayed or just
shot.
kinda
Look at that. You
pointed
can
out
see
at
all
about a
33 are
15-degree
firing
angle. So
just.
if you look close and we get good tracking, you might be able to see those center right after.
Right. We're coming up on hot
And so
staging.
those 6 engines will push Starship off of the booster.
Come on, baby. Come on, Ship 28.
All right, counting down now. We're going to be coming up right at around the 3-minute mark on that hot staging maneuver.
Hot staging at
Again,
3
we'll see
minutes.
the booster engines start to shut down. You'll see all but
Look
3
at
lights
that.
go out in the middle. And then we'll see
that
the
is-
engines ignite on ship, pushing it away.
That is, oh,
And that will
that's the
start
engine chill
carrying
vents on the ship.
into space. Booster will start to do its flip and then move into the boost back burn, setting it up.
Main engine
for
cut. We have
eventual
most engines
splashdown
cut off.
in the Gulf of Mexico.
Stage separation.
Stage separation! Yes!
Boostback startup.
We have boost back startup. And the engines are running on the booster well.
Hot staging confirmed.
The booster's going.
Booster's now making its way back, seeing 6
We
engines
did it!
ignited on ship. Kate, we got a Starship on its way to space and a booster on the way back to the Gulf.
Oh, man.
Oh my God,
I
yes!
need a moment to pick my jaw up from the floor because these views are just stunning. These
Oh
are live
my
views
God,
from
wow,
Starship.
man.
First stage is currently performing the
Ship
boost.
avionics, power and telemetry nominal.
Ship
Good
avionics
there,
are
news
part, and their
informing
power
us that the
delivery is
second stage of
nominal.
the ship, everything looking good, nominal there.
Bring it all
First
the way
stage is
back. Let's
currently
catch
performing
it.
the Boostback
We're
burn,
across the
expecting
Kármán
that to
line.
last about 1
Ship
minute.
28 is in
That
space.
Boostback
Ship
burn,
pressure is nominal.
Oh,
that boostback burn propels the booster back
Oh.
towards the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters
Yes!
of the Gulf of Mexico.
we have Boostback shutdown.
We're only using the Super Heavy boosters 13 center engines from here on out. As whenever they relight, you'll be able to see that in the left bottom corner. Those are the ones that can gimbal. In other words, they
It looked like
move
some of the
and
engines
change
might have shut down
direction,
early there.
in order
Ooh.
to change the thrust to steer the first stage back to
What's
Earth.
going on here? Oh, seems to have cleared whatever it was. There was some venting coming from the booster
Wow,
there.
these are just incredible views coming to us.
Remember, Starship uses its tank pressure for
Everything is looking
maneuvering
good for
it.
both the first
Vents
stage
pressure out of
on the
its
left-hand
tanks
side of your screen
order
or
to
the Super
maneuver.
Heavy booster, as well as on the right-hand side of your
Super
screen.
Heavy has
that
passed
is
its apogee.
Starship,
It's
or
on its way
we also
back
refer
down.
to that as the ship.
And shit, look at that view from the ship. Oh my
The Boostback
God.
burn was the first of 2 burns required to return it to Earth. The
Oh
next
my
one will
God.
be the landing burn, where
we got
all
6
13
good
center
engines on
will
ship.
initially ignite and then transition into a 3-engine burn to help slow it down. Now, just as a reminder of the Stage 1 test objectives.
All right, Super Heavy is back.
We're looking for
is now
controlled ascent,
transatmospheric.
which we have so far.
It's back inside the
Stage
Earth's
separation,
atmosphere.
which gorgeous. We cruised right through it, as well
Vehicles
as
on a nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory,
good
that's what
news
we
there
like to
telling
hear.
us that the path that Starship
Oh.
is on is good. Now, Starship's second stage
Bit of a
is
signal
still
interruption
firing
from
its
the ship.
engines, and as you heard, following planned flight path, the ship objectives, we're looking for hot staging.
There we
Again,
go, we got a
cruised right
signal back
through
from the
that.
ship.
We're looking to demonstrate controlled ascent as well as orbital insertion. Now, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen shows the ship engine graphics, so be sure to keep an eye on those.
Ship engines
Yeah,
are still
and
good.
Kate, like this is just a phenomenal test so far. Super Heavy is performing beautifully today. It's on its return leg of the journey. Ship continuing to burn.
We're starting to
its
see
6
bits of ice
engines,
flying
those larger
by the
circles,
camera
the
on
Raptor vacuum engine,
Super
the inner
Heavy as it
circles,
begins to
the,
really enter
Raptor
the
sea
meat and
level
potatoes
engines.
of the atmosphere here.
We're about 30 seconds.
There's the grid
away,
fins on Super Heavy starting
just
to
about
move.
30 seconds away
Acquisition of
from the
signal.
start of the boostback burn. Excuse me, the landing burn on the booster. You can see the grid fins
The
rotating.
grid fins are
Those hypersonic grid fins are guiding us through the atmosphere back towards our splashdown site. Again, we're going for a splashdown.
we're coming in. We
soft
should be getting a
splashdown.
landing burn soon. Ship is still looking
So for landing
nominal.
burn, we're going to expect to see the 13 center engines light, rapidly bring down
10
the
kilometers
booster's
above the
velocity,
ground. 9,
and then just
8,
the 3
7.
in the center for splashdown.
Ooh, bit wiggly.
Let's see if that'll work.
Oh,
We're getting a few.
oh, we got a few engines. Oh!
And acquisition of signal. Let's see if we can get some other video of that. Now, this is a test objective.
I don't
today.
think
It
the
is
landing
still something
burn
that we're
exactly
attempting
worked
to
there.
learn.
Only
And
looked
to
like
make
2 or
it
3
that
engines
far, to
lit.
demonstrate the controlled re-entry up to that point is pretty darn
But
good.
wow!
Ship continuing to look
Booster
nominal
10.
with its
You are
ascent
in
burn.
Valhalla now.
This burn lasting about 6 minutes total.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the booster.
And we're expecting that this burn will
Yeah,
end.
I don't think the entry burn started right.
Just after T+8 minutes, about a minute from now. So far, though, I mean, congrats to
Oh,
the
wow.
team. Making it this far is farther than we've gone
Absolutely.
on Flight 2. Just wonderful views and great engine performance from the vehicles.
Ship is in terminal guidance, so we should be seeing Seco on the ship soon, getting
So
a view
far,
of
we've
mission
hit
control
controlled
here.
ascent. We're in the middle of that right now. We demonstrated the hot staging. Kate, as you said, cruised through that. We demonstrated controlled entry of the booster just stopped a little short of the engine relight, but hey, that's something we can learn for the next one.
Yeah. Now that view that we just had moments ago was a live shot of Star Command. There you see it again. This is
we have
our mission control center
Raptor
at
Vaccum,
Starbase, where
Raptor
vehicle
vacuums have
operators
shut
are standing
down.
by. Now the next milestone coming up is in less than a minute. At that point, ship will, or I'm sorry, actually it already
And we have shut down! Yes! Ship engine cut off. We're on our way to the Indian Ocean.
By the call out and from the crowd behind us.
Nominal insertions.
6 Raptor engines have successfully shut down. We heard a call out for nominal orbital insertion, which is incredible. Look at these views, Dan.
Nominal suborbital insertion.
I'm just completely blown away right now. What a day.
So the ship's now
Congratulations to the entire
reorienting?
SpaceX team. I mean, this flight pretty much just started, but we're farther than we've ever been before. We've got a Starship not just in space, but on its coast phase into space. Just to recap,
Starship is officially
it's only been
in
9.5
space,
minutes. How has it
on
only
its
been
way to the
9.5
Indian
minutes?
Ocean. They are
We lifted off
reorienting
right
the
on
ship
time at
in order
8:25
to
a.m. We didn't have
prepare
to hold at
for
our gate at all. We had
the
33 out of
engine
33
relight test,
Raptor engines
the
open
opening
up,
of the payload bay door, and eventually
light
re-entry
get
of
us
the
through
ship.
A nominal ascent,
So I'm going to
another
pause the
successful
recording
hot
now,
stage. All 6
and I'm going to bring you
engines on the
back
ship propelling
if
us
anything
into
major
orbit. We
goes
did see
on.
a
So
what
nominally,
looked like a
I will
nominal
see
boost
you
back burn. And then
when
we did make it all the
we
way
do
to
the
the
relight,
landing
or
burn
whatever
this
comes
time.
first.
It didn't light all.
Nothing like listening to some smooth jazz in the coast period. We are 12 minutes 50, or 13 minutes now into flight. Starship is currently coasting over the Atlantic Ocean. We did hear a call, acquisition of signal Puerto Rico. So they are well on their way. We also heard that the payload bay door has opened, which is great. So we've already completed. Well, we haven't heard that it's open yet, but we're completing the test objectives that we're meant to be doing today. We're currently at an altitude of 190 kilometers and a speed of 26,313 kilometers per hour. And all systems remain nominal on board Ship 28.
Expected loss of signal, Cape Canaveral.
We have an expected loss of signal at the Cape, so I'll bring you back with any more updates we get. I'm back a minute later. We have a view from inside. Oh, we had a view there from inside Starship's payload bay, where eventually satellites, Starlink satellites, customer satellites, and eventually one day humans will ride. Starship has now become the largest single item that's not modular space station to ever enter orbit. Actually, is it? It's one of them. I'm not sure. Maybe the S2 of the Saturn V is slightly bigger. I'm not sure. I don't think it is. But we're 15 minutes into flight at an altitude of 200 kilometers and 26,261 kilometers per hour. And everything's still going fine. It seems like the crews at Star Command and MCCX in Hawthorne, California are happy as a clam right now. Lots of happy faces in Starbase right now. I'd really like them to give us an update on how the ground infrastructure is looking, but we're still, we've got a bit of loss of signal right now from Starship, but we'll see what comes next. See you soon. Another great view from inside the payload bay. That is the Pez dispenser, or where the Pez dispenser would go. You can see that slit at the bottom where the light's coming in. That is the payload bay door that one day Starlink satellites will fly out on their own missions. We are at an altitude of 212 kilometers. This is by far the highest altitude Starship has ever reached, considering what happened with the previous launches, but we are still nominal. We are at 17 minutes, 10 seconds into flight. And Ship 28 is continuing on its way to the Indian Ocean. T plus 20 minutes into flight, Starship is at an altitude of 224 kilometers and a speed of 26,151 kilometers per hour as we continue downrange. We had a view from the exterior of the ship there. Oh, did that altitude decrease? Have we passed apogee? Yes, the speed is increasing. Yes, the speed is increasing. We have passed apogee and Starship is on its way down. T plus 20 minutes, 38 seconds. I'll bring you back when something more interesting happens. We just got a call there. We're at T plus 24 minutes, 43 seconds. Starship's flight computer is performing the propellant transfer demonstration. This is huge because this is not just for SpaceX to demonstrate in-orbit propellant transfer. This is something that NASA wants because this is going to be huge for the Artemis program because Starship needs to be able to refuel itself and refuel other ships in orbit. So this is exactly what that's for. And we did get a call there that it's occurring. The propellant transfer demonstration is indeed occurring aboard Starship. T plus 2 minutes, 25 seconds, and an altitude of 234 kilometers and a speed of 26,115 kilometers per hour. All systems remain nominal, and I'll see you soon. T plus 26 minutes, 20 seconds. We just got a call on the net. The propellant transfer demonstration is complete, which is great. So the next major milestone is Raptor relight, and then transitioning to the re-entry phase. So I'll bring you back when we get a bit closer to that. Things are going really, really well today. We had a successful liftoff, successful first stage ascent burn, hot staging, another view from inside Starship's payload bay. You love to see it. We had a great boostback burn for Super Heavy, nominal control through the re-entry, and then unfortunately we didn't get the landing burn. Only it looks like maybe one or maybe only one engine lit for the landing burn, which is unfortunate, but this is a test mission. I'm sure they'll figure out what went wrong and fix it for Booster 11. We had a nominal burn for the Raptor vacuums and the sea level Raptors on ship, and the ship is currently well in space and has been for the last 10 or so minutes. All systems remaining good, and I'll bring you back when we are coming up to the Raptor relight demonstration. T plus 28 minutes, 35 seconds. We just heard a call that the PEZ dispenser checkouts are complete and we are expecting the payload bay door to close. So I will keep it live here for a bit to see if we actually see the payload bay door close. We are at an altitude of 229 kilometers and a speed of 26,137 kilometers per hour. I love seeing this. This is so cool, and the inside the ship looks like it's in great shape internally. We're expecting to see the payload bay door closing. We're getting some ratty views from the ship at the minute because we're downlinking through the tracking and data relay satellites, I believe, instead of a ground station or Starlink. And there we can see that looks like the payload bay door is closing to me, or is that just a trick of the light with the way the light's moving? Because the ship is rotating around its longitudinal axis.
Chill has started.
Engine, we heard there, engine chill has started. That's for the Raptor relight demonstration. PEZ dispenser door looks like it's closed to me. Very, very good flight so far as we pass the T plus 30 minute mark. I'll bring you back when something interesting comes up.
Of our third Starship flight test, which lifted off from Starbase Texas at 8:25 a.m. Central Time. Our main objective today was to get through all of our ascent burns and collect as much data as possible, including a potential Starship entry. And we just came out of a coast phase and we're treated to a number of HD views thanks to Starlink, including the PES door open close test.
Gotta love
that was one of our
Starlink.
test objectives today that we met. So that's awesome. It has been such a great day.
It has been a phenomenal test day. Just to see Booster lifting a Starship to ascent, ship completing its ascent. Just a wonderful day. Kind of to recap the objectives a little bit. Booster completed its ascent, ignited its 33 Raptor engines. We demonstrated a successful hot staging.
Oh, I forgot I turned the volume down on this.
Booster completed the boostback burn, didn't quite accomplish the landing burn, and then had a hard splashdown in the Gulf. Meanwhile, ship completely successful after the hot staging. We had a good 6-engine burn of the Raptor Vaccum engines and sea level engines. And then we've commanded a number of demonstrations, including the Starlink satellite deploy demo, so the payload door, as well as a prop transfer demonstration. We do still need to do some data review on those, so as we get that data back, we'll be sure to update you on social for how those tests went. We are coming up on our next major milestones, which is an in-space relight of our Raptor engine for the first time, followed by re-entry and then landing in the Indian Ocean.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's right, guys. We should be just about 40 seconds away, 40 or 50 seconds away
relight.
if we do this relight demo. Do want to stress this is not a deorbit burn. In fact, it's actually going to function a little bit opposite of a deorbit burn. We're going to be raising our perigee with this burn to the lowest point of our orbit. This is just to demonstrate that we can relight a Raptor engine on ship while it's gone through a coast, while it's in outer space, while it's in microgravity, all of the different complexities that come with lighting this engine again after it's already done an ascent burn, but you're now coasting through space. This is going to be really important anytime we want to do in-space maneuvers in the future, like eventual deorbit burns, any of our translunar injections that'll have Raptor engines firing back up. We may not do it. There is, all of the guidance is loaded into Starship's computer itself, so if it doesn't see the values that it needs to, we could just skip the burn. So we are waiting to find out if that's going to happen or not. If it doesn't, as we said in the beginning, we're on a pretty steep trajectory that we are coming home no matter what, regardless of doing a burn. This was done just so we can really, we're in a trajectory that's really not super susceptible to delta V changes in velocity. If we were to do a burn, we've got a pretty concise footprint in the Indian Ocean that we're going to be targeting for splashdown today. It does sound like we are skipping past the on-orbit relight demo this time. Again, we'll confirm all of this through our post-flight data review, but it did sound like we did pass through that burn. So now that's going to start setting us up for re-entry.
So we didn't get a Raptor relight there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So coming up next around T plus 49 minutes is Starship re-entry. Now, this is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with spacecraft because they're re-entering the Earth's atmosphere at or around orbital velocity, about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second. Super fast. Now, at those speeds, the spacecraft's interaction with the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so we're basically left with a brief communications blackout. Now, we might get some telemetry back through a connection to the tracking and data relay satellite system, also known as TDRS. But if the plasma doesn't entirely block it, that connection will be at a very slow data rate and definitely too slow for any video.
But that's why Starship and Starlink are a great partnership. Starship is so big that it will leave a wake or a hole in the plasma field as it flies through an atmosphere. You can think of a wake kind of like when you see a boat going through the ocean. It sort of leaves a trail behind it. There's some of those great views from
reorienting
from Starlink, giving us views of Starship's onboard videos. And so we're hoping that the Starlink on board will let us, just like we're seeing these videos now, see through that plasma field by maintaining a continuous communication lock with the satellites on orbit through the wake that Starship leaves behind. Now, this is only the second time that we're testing Starlink during re-entry, so even though we do have these great visuals now, don't be surprised if we manage to get some signal hiccups through. We're still learning about what that wake will actually look like in practice and whether we're able to get that live, continuous, high-speed data during re-entry.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the really primary reasons we want to use Starlink is to just gather as much data as possible. It's been said the data is the payload on one of these flights, where we're putting this flight hardware in a real flight environment, trying to learn about it as much as possible. Re-entry is going to be a really critical phase of flight. We really want to know how the ship's going to perform, especially that heat shield, as we're going through the hypersonic re-entry. So if something were to go wrong during this re-entry, we want as many paths as possible to collect that information, that data, just to, again, just continually feed back into the Starship program to make each flight more reliable, more successful.
Acquisition signal, Mauritius.
AOS on Mauritius. We're going to need to get into stable re-entry attitude pretty quickly because we are coming up on the Karman
Now,
line.
if Starship manages to
and there you can
make
see the
it
rear
all the way
flap.
through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on Starship flying through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, meaning more than 5, or at this point, will be more than 5 times the speed of sound.
The forward flaps, they're beginning to
Now we're
start
watching these live
the
views, HD views by the looks of it, thanks to Starlink. You can see that the flaps there on the ship might be actuating.
Looks like ice. And you can see stuff starting to come off the vehicle as we begin to
certainly some incredible
hit the upper atmosphere. So the vehicle
visions
should
of
come into
planet Earth
re-entry
behind
attitude.
Starship.
We're going over the
Now, we've already
darkness.
validated Starship's ability to fly
that's trippy.
and land at subsonic speeds. You might recall those suborbital flights from a few years ago.
And we are stable in re-entry attitude. Mostly.
So getting data on aspects like heating and control while traveling way faster than we did before is going to be critical to eventually bringing Starships back from space for rapid reuse. So I mentioned those flaps. That's one of the things that enables Starship to help control itself and survive the heat of re-entry, which, like we said before, we're expecting that re-entry to occur around T plus 49 minutes.
So we're
getting pretty close here.
And what you're seeing here, it looks like the vehicle is sort of moving back and forth. Part of what you're also seeing is one of the cameras, this onboard view that we have, is on the end of a flap. Starship has front flaps and rear flaps in the vehicle. So we've got 4 of those. And oh man, we can see the heating on those flaps as we're starting to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere.
We've passed the Karman line.
The Earth's atmosphere is doing the work.
Oh man! Oh man!
Like we said, this plasma
Look at that!
Wow, what a view! We hope to maintain these views throughout.
Oh, look at that!
Is so big that we're hoping that the plasma field doesn't entirely.
Oh, but it's still rotating though.
The entire vehicle. Right now, it is not. The Starlinks are
Views brought to you by Starlink.
Yeah, the Starlinks are still communicating and still capturing the data in the video that we see here.
It needs to stabilize.
This is just absolutely incredible.
I think it's stabilized.
We've never seen anything like this before. This is the biggest flying object ever in space.
Absolutely, Kate. And
wow, look at that!
The ascent burn that we did was to get us to orbital velocities, even though we were on a nearly orbital trajectory. So the heating and the loads that Starship is going through right now are what it would be getting if it were recovering from an orbital mission. And just the fact that we have views through entry, this is incredible.
Yeah. Again, this is the furthest and fastest that Starship has
we're starting to lose the signal.
And you can definitely tell by the crowd here in Hawthorne.
The heat shield tiles doing their work. We talked about it earlier. Up to 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's turned backwards.
That those heat shield tiles are dissipating.
It's in that's re-entry attitude. Whoa!
Yeah, no, this was one of the critical, or rather the key
this is incredible,
objectives that we were hoping to hit today. We have never, like I said before, this is the fastest and furthest that Starship has ever flown. So
and we're still getting. I never expected to get this much, to get such good signal from it.
How these 18,000 hexagonal heat shield tiles are working together to protect the belly of Starship as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. Once again, the atmosphere is doing us a big favor here by
80 kilometers altitude.
We're at 80 kilometers altitude.
the atmosphere is actually doing us a huge favor here by acting as a braking system for Starship as it re-enters the atmosphere.
And that's part of the reason why the flaps
Oh,
are so
I think we've lost the
important.
signal.
We're
No, we
using
haven't.
the body
No, not
of
yet.
Starship and the drag from the atmosphere to slow us down from orbital speed. But you want the vehicle to remain stable. You want those heat shield tiles pointed down so they can absorb the heat of the Earth's atmosphere. And so that's the purpose that they are serving during the hypersonic phase and then again during the subsonic phase.
Absolutely. So like we said, these views are being provided by a couple Starlink terminals that are positioned on Starship itself. As that plasma builds, we're hoping that we can bring these views back to you. But you can see the telemetry there on the right-hand side of your screen. If you watch closely, you can see the speed decelerating. Again, that's the friction
69
of the
kilometers
atmosphere
altitude.
resulting in this
Very
plasma
nice.
field, or excuse me, the blanket that is potentially blocking the Starlink terminals right now. So we'll bring those views back to you if we get them. But right now, for those of you that have recently joined, Starship is currently re-entering Earth's atmosphere. This is super exciting because it's
Look at the
furthest
speed
and
coming down now.
fastest
Holy
that Starship
crap.
has ever flown.
It's just absolutely
I
incredible.
lost the
Major
data.
test milestone, something we wanted to accomplish on Flight 2, getting to it today. So just awesome.
Now, we actually have some heat shields here. So these are what's doing all the work on Starship right now. There are 18,000 hexagonal heat shields like these.
I think we might have got
so this one
some
that I
sort of
have
blackout
is
or
flat. Like this is what would be positioned on the flaps of Starship,
something
whereas
like that. I don't
Shiva
want to
has
make
something a
any
little different.
assumptions
Yeah,
right now,
the one I
but
have would be on
we
the
don't
curved
have signal
surfaces
from the
of Starship.
vehicle.
I'll just put it in frame here. So we've got these attached at various points around the vehicle. Like you said, Kate, 18,000 of these tiles around, and they're doing the work to make sure that
I
the
think we got a
structure
blip
of
from
the
a
vehicle
blip of
doesn't
telemetry
carry all
there.
that thermal load, so we can recover the vehicles eventually and get to rapid reuse on them.
They're really lightweight. They sound a little different than I would have expected them to, but they are ceramic, and these are what's helping Starship survive through this period of entry. We're not sure how far we're going to make it. Again, this is the furthest that we've gotten in our test flight, but the further we fly, the more data that we can get, and that's ultimately the measure of success here, which I mean, I think today has been a huge success given where we've gone and how much further we've gotten with both the booster and Starship itself.
And one of the beautiful things about Starlink on board the vehicle, we were getting that high-speed video. High-speed video is a very high data rate, and usually video comes after you get your telemetry. So hopefully we were able to get some wonderful data throughout the entry period, which is normally something we have to wait for
So at the
until
last
after
bit of
splashdown
telemetry, we
when
were
we get
65
that data from data
kilometers.
recorders.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before the flaps. Again, that the flaps are protected by the flat heat shields like I have. There are 4 of those positioned on Starship, 2 at the forward end or the top end, and 2 at the bottom or aft end. And they operate independently to aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude or positioning during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location. So today we are intending to splash down in the Indian Ocean, and we're hoping that we can make it that far. But regardless, it is an exciting end to what has been an exciting day.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've had some tests in the past. We had suborbital campaigns where we have tested out the aerodynamic flaps at subsonic speeds. So that's below the speed of sound. At
I think it's
hypersonic speeds, well, supersonic speeds first, so faster than the speed of sound, and then hypersonic speeds. So that's more than 5 times the speed of sound. The equations of motion change, how the vehicle responds changes.
Oh, I forgot I had that.
So going through
phone.
that control phase where we're going from faster than the speed of sound to below the speed of sound was one of the objectives today.
And that's actually a great point because we are expecting that entry subsonic period to occur around T+1 hour and 3.5 minutes. So we're not there yet. We're about 10 minutes away from that point. So again, that is when Starship would be traveling slower than the speed of sound thanks to the atmospheric braking system.
feel like braking may be
And
more
so right now we're still waiting to see
literal.
if we're going to get data back from this ship. We might be in a bit of a blackout period right now. So still waiting to hear the status on it. But yeah, we got to the actual entry portion of today. We started into peak heating, which was just a really big milestone. Starship is pretty unique in the way that it re-enters, especially for something reusable. The closest parallel has been the space shuttle. When we're comparing Starship to like when we bring a Falcon 9 booster back, we're talking about 20 times the energy given the velocity that we're moving at, and all of that energy just gets converted into heat, and then we need to use those tiles to just help dissipate that heat. They're not ablative like you would see on something like Dragon, which uses an ablative in the capsule shape. So they are these tiles that are made to be reusable. So any data we're getting on the actual temperatures it was seeing during heating, all of that is just really hugely valuable. Where Starship is really unique is,
so we
and
should
Kate and Shiv
be
have talked about it a
coming
couple
up
of
on
times, is
coming
once
out of
we're
this blackout.
through
If
this
that's what
kind
this
of
is, this is
hypersonic
a
section,
blackout period. We should be seeing the end of that relatively
and
soon.
that's where we really learned a lot and proved that Starship's really just its basic shape could work. And we did that during the suborbital campaign. Again, if you compare it to the shuttle, which entered, it had the wings, it had a similar heat shield system, but it had wings,
Shuttle was a lot different.
and then was almost flown like a glider once it re-entered and was down to those subsonic speeds. With Starship, we're not doing that. We're just coming straight down. We'll hit terminal velocity, which with Starship is around 200 miles an hour. And then we use a flip maneuver to ignite those engines, do a landing burn, and then touch down on the ground. So you don't need a runway. We're doing that, again, designed because when we go to the moon, when we go to Mars, there's not going to be a runway there for us.
Oh,
and
I
so
wonder
that
what that was.
propulsive landing is going to be really important. This is an animation of pretty much what we were just watching on actual Starship video, which is pretty incredible. But we go through peak heating. One of the benefits of today's trajectory, actually, we got closer to what the heating profile will be on just a normal mission when you compare it to our previous flights, which were headed out to Hawaii. So we go through peak heating, and then we hit subsonic, and then Starship splashes down in the ocean. Again, we're not doing a landing burn on this flight, and we're not expecting Starship to survive the impact. We're not going to be recovering any of the hardware. For now, though, we are just still waiting to see if we're going to get some signal back. We're currently at a loss of signal with Starship. Don't know for sure what its status is, and so we're just continuing to listen in. But it was pretty incredible seeing the flaps really do their thing.
If we haven't got any
maneuver the vehicle as it's moving through
by
hypersonic,
the expected time of
one of the
landing,
big trade-offs between something like shuttle
we can pretty
and
much
Starship
make an assumption at that point,
wings can be
considering
pretty heavy.
it would be
and so if we can really demonstrate that
point.
Starship's controllable through that hypersonic regime when you're coming through the atmosphere, 25 times the speed of sound, you can save a whole lot of weight by not having really big wings. So super valuable to get this data, super valuable to then figure out what we're going to do on our next test flights.
Yeah, and you'd brought up a really interesting point too, that for on shuttle, you are gliding in, going back to a runway. On Starship, because we're landing vertically, we are basically coming down, and then we've seen this during the suborbital campaign. We're not going to see it today, but during the suborbital campaign, we did the flip maneuver and then light our engines for a landing burn. And that's also really important for some of our other terrestrial destinations, that we don't have as much of an atmosphere on Mars. There is pretty much no atmosphere. There's some great views from our previous test campaigns of a landing burn and upright landing.
If
but
the ship
on the moon,
assuming the
there
ship is
is
intact,
no atmosphere. On Mars, the
we
atmosphere
should be starting
is
to see
extremely
telemetry
thin,
start to
so you
recover,
actually
'cause
need
we are
some other
at this
sophisticated
point coming up
techniques
on when
that
we would
other landers
expect
have
it to be
used to
coming
land there.
through
And so this
the high
vertical
Mach
landing
range.
technique is really important to landing on destinations like those, which is ultimately where we're trying to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope to demonstrate that landing in future missions. That wasn't one of our objectives for today. We wanted the ship to focus on opening and closing, the first demonstration of opening and closing the PEZ door, which is where we will deploy Starlink satellites from in the future, as well as a gathering data on how the heat shield tiles performed during the entry period. And so far, all of that has gone really well. So overall, it's been pretty great, and it's great to see how those initial tests that we performed a couple years ago for those high altitude tests allow us to see what those will look like in the future. But this piece that we're doing today of, okay, if we are coming back from orbital velocity and we're going through that entry period, that is the missing piece, right? We already figured out how to land once the ship gets to a certain velocity or altitude, and it's really this piece that we were trying to figure out today. How do we get Starship to survive orbital velocity atmospheric entry? And we hope to find out soon.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about rapid iteration and how we do design. Part of our philosophy is testing early and often and trying to test in a way that is as flight-like as possible. But there's only so much you can do in a chamber where you're trying to simulate the atmosphere in a laboratory. So there's nothing quite like when the heat shield tile hits the atmosphere in flight to gather that wonderful data and prove out some of the analyses and probably teach us a bunch of things that we didn't quite get right.
For sure. And obviously, for those of you that have been watching along with us, those were incredible views to see of that entry period where we saw the heat generating because of friction as the belly of Starship was making contact with the Earth's atmosphere, and that resulted in some plasma. So as Dan said before, we believe that we're in a bit of a blackout period at the moment. We are expecting the vehicle, if it's still alive, we would be expecting the vehicle to be approaching subsonic or slower than the speed of sound speeds in 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes from now. So if it's still up there in one piece, it still has a way to go. We're not there just yet. But we saw that plasma field building up around the exterior, which can blanket the entire vehicle as it does with all of our Dragon missions, and we're at a loss for telemetry at that point in time. So
Dan's seen a lot of those with Dragon missions that he's supported.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are hearing through some of the telemetry that it did look like we lost Starlink and our TDRS data flow at the exact same time. Now, if both of those signals are cutting out at the exact same time, that could mean we lost the ship. It has been several minutes since we've gotten any data from Starship. We are waiting just a couple more minutes just to see if we can get any additional confirmation, but that is one data point that we're tracking, and that could indicate that we had a loss or a breakup of the ship during that re-entry. So,
and that's totally fine.
Might not make it all the way to splashdown today, but we were able to get through the early phases of re-entry, hit some of that peak heating, which was just really incredible to see a Starship coming back from space after getting all those views from space for the very first time. So we'll just keep on listening in on the loops here, see if we hear anything over the next couple of minutes. And that might bring a close to a pretty successful day so far. So again, we did lose the TDRS. That's the tracking and data relay satellite. That's the satellite system that pretty much every spacecraft operating in orbit right now will use to get data. We were able to get some signal through that. And then we were also getting data back through Starlink.
Live view here of mission control down at Starbase. So these are all the folks who are experts on the various different systems, taking a look at the live data that we did have. Probably in mission mode still, but
absolutely.
It would be so tough to stay focused with what an exciting day we've had today.
Yeah, to quote Monty Python, I'm not dead yet.
Okay, so
we don't
according
know,
to the
as Dan
nominal
said,
timeline,
we did lose connection with
Starship
TDRS, which is the tracking and data
transonic
relay
by now.
satellite system, and Starlink at the same time. So it is a realistic possibility that we lost Starship, which honestly
So-
was always on the table. We didn't know how
If
far
we're
it was
going to
going to
get
get.
signal back,
The further we could
should
fly
get it back
and
in
the more
the next
data we
minute or
could
so.
collect was always the biggest win. And so regardless of, if we did lose the vehicle and we are not able to, make it all the way to our intended splashdown, note that we weren't intending to recover this vehicle, either vehicle, the Super Heavy booster nor the Starship. We weren't intending to recover either of them. They were both going to basically hit at terminal velocity and break up upon contact with the
According to the
surface
nominal
of the ocean.
timeline, we
So
should be
we're standing by to
subsonic
hear
by now.
whether or not we are going to be able to get telemetry readings back, but we are possibly anticipating news that we lost Starship due to basically a double blackout from TDRS and Starship data at the same time.
But this is, it's worth mentioning, this is the first time that we have come back at these speeds
Absolutely.
in any of the test flights that we've done so far with Starship. So we are trying to prove out that the heat shield works as intended, that the controllability at those hypersonic speeds works as intended. So if we were able to get back any data on that, that means the next version, what happens on flight 4, 5, 6, is going to be better.
We must be able to get some because we saw incredibly gorgeous high definition views
They're gonna get so
of
much
that
good data
entry
off
period
that
whenever
period.
it was initially starting. So we
But
must have gotten some data
Today
there.
has been otherwise a
30
phenomenal
seconds
day.
of nominal
Liftoff
splashdown
on
time.
time, full ignition of all of the boosters, engines, successful hot staging, and then ship took it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to see the ship actually make it further as well as the booster. We were hoping that the booster would perform a soft water landing, but we lost it during just before it was able to ignite the landing burn. But the ship continued on. We saw all six Raptor engines on the ship
So
ignite
even
and
if
then
it
shut
was
down for
nominal,
second engine
Starship would
cutoff, and
probably be
we saw some
splashing down
amazing
around
views as
this
well.
time.
And it's just been certainly a day that I will be
So,
taking
I'm not
many
gonna make any
screenshots
assumptions yet
and
until SpaceX make an
using them
official-
as my computer desktop
official
background
announcement.
for, until the next Starship launch.
When we get even better views, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And we also hit a number of our other ambitious test objectives. We had a chance to at least initiate the commands for a propellant transfer demo within the vehicle. This is something that Starship's going to have to do in the future, and these sort of transfers haven't been done at this scale before, so that's a first as well. We also were able to demonstrate that the payload door functions.
And we got to see that, yeah.
Yeah, and so those commands were sent. Again, data review to come and make sure that everything performed as expected, but that's going to be critical to deploying payloads in the future once Starship becomes operational. So a number of test objectives hit, much more accomplished than Flight 2, and making steady progress towards a fully, rapidly reusable, reliable Starship.
Absolutely.
And hey, Kate, and hey, Shiva, we were just hearing on the loops, we are making the call now that we have lost Ship 28. So as we were possibly expecting, we lost the data a couple of minutes ago. We haven't heard from the ship up until this point, and so the team has made the call that ship has been lost. So no splashdown today, but again, just it's incredible to see how much further we got this time around. We had a couple of those ambitious objectives that you guys were just walking through that we're able to take advantage of while Starship was in outer space flying over our planet for the very first time. So that was just really incredible. Obviously, there's a lot to go through. Everyone always wants to know right off the bat what happened. Takes us a little bit of time, but I can assure you as soon as we start finding things out, we're going to let everybody know. And I know everybody's going to be excited for the next one. I mean, as I pointed out in the beginning, there's 4 super heavy boosters either fully stacked or getting stacked right behind me. We've got other ships ready to go as well. So it's going to be a really busy time down here at Starbase as we look to really fly Starship as much as possible, get this vehicle ready to go for all the important things it's got to go do.
And with that, we got to say a huge congratulations to our teammates and everyone who's supported the Starship program. There's been flames and reds along the way, but third time's the charm, and we made it to space. We also a big thanks to all of our future customers for your support, and we want to give a big thanks to the people of Cameron County, Texas, for their support, as well as the Coast Guard and the Federal Aviation Administration.
Fist
Be
bumps
sure
all
to
around.
follow the SpaceX account on X for more updates from today's test flight and future Starship tests. But before we go, we want to wish SpaceX a very happy birthday.
Oh
The
yeah,
company
today's
was founded on
SpaceX's
this
birthday.
day in 2002
Wow.
when it basically consisted of this small team, a carpet and a mariachi band. I don't know about you, but we're feeling 22. Also, it's Pi Day.
Yeah. They've got the pie.
Yeah, but I mean, Pi Day's constant and never ending, so shouldn't every day be Pi Day from now on?
I mean, that's a really good point, and I think after a test like today's, we all deserve some pie.
That should have been the payload on
Thanks for
today's
watching,
mission.
and we'll see you next time.
And that does it for today. We had a successful liftoff, a successful ascent, a successful hot staging, a successful boost back, controlled re-entry. We didn't quite get the landing burn, but regardless, what a successful day. The ship performed brilliantly. Ship 28, you done everyone proud. You done the whole spaceflight community proud with that. Nominal Raptor Vacuum and Raptor sea level burns. Nominal coast phase. Nominal, we hope, propellant transfer demonstration. We heard that the payload bay door opened and closed successfully. The PEZ dispenser worked perfectly. Today has been a huge step forward, and unfortunately, yes, you did hear there that they called it that Ship 28 unfortunately did not survive re-entry. I'm sure whatever caused that, they will fix it. They will improve on it. Ship 29, Booster 11, now it's your turn. Thank you guys very much for joining me for this incredible experience, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.